Wonder Woman is different from other superheroes because, for one, she's a woman, and there are very few other female superheroes.
Tomboys in girls' books were the only girls who challenged the traditional female role. But they always lost because they had to grow up. And there was this new playing field called heterosexuality that they had forced them to change. Wonder Woman never had to grow up. And yet, she could be strong and be a woman, not a girl. Almost every other female superhero for a long time had girl in her name. But she didn't have to be a grown-up in the sense that she made compromises. This was an empowering image.
Wonder Woman would be very overt and very direct in her telling various female characters, look, you need to stand up for yourself. You can't, take this sort of abuse from anybody. You need to go out there. You need to make money. And yes, like whatever you set your mind to, you can do it.
Wonder Woman does all that rescuing, but she has help and she helps people, women, feel that they can do it too. Similarly, in the comic book, the early versions of the comic book, the women villains could always be redeemed. And then they become committed to her cause, which involves also working with other women.
Wonder Woman is different in that her powers are, the bracelets, the lasso, those are magical. But her athleticism, her speed, whatever, all of that was training when she was on Paradise Island. And everybody did it. And she happened to be a little bit better than everybody else. But it was through effort, it was through work, it was through discipline that she became who she is. It wasn't by some experiment gone wrong or anything like that. I think that Wonder Woman never used her sexuality as a tool. She was very sexy, but she was sexy just because she was sexy, not because she used it to convince anyone. She just looked great.
I think that you and I ought to have a little talk. Why don't you come into my office?
She was very much a break from the traditional housewife figures that you saw in the 1960s with characters like I Dream of Jeannie or Samantha from Bewitched, who are women who have a lot of power, but their power is depicted as very problematic and troublesome and, causes the men in their life a lot of problems. Gloria Steinem put Wonder Woman on the first cover of Ms. Magazine because she grew up with Wonder Woman. And she really, read her as very much a feminist figure and a role model.
The fact that Gloria Steinem and the other women at Ms. Magazine wanted to use Wonder Woman on the cover was a great testament to the power of the character, the longevity of the character and what the character means. She empowers other women to be true to themselves and not to be afraid of the powers that you have, and then to have power, if you use it in the right way, is a great thing.
By the late 70s, the TV version came out with Linda Carter. I think people saw her as a feminist, part of the spirit of the age.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure seeing you again, too.
I never felt pressure about playing the feminist role. I was a feminist just by nature. Before I knew what a feminist was, I was a feminist.
Hey, you're my best man.
Hey, thanks for the compliment.
Wonder Woman really came at a time when we're also seeing other images of very strong, active women. And in general, the 1970s was a better period for women on television than had ever existed before. We had a lot of female-centered television shows, shows like Alice, One Day at a Time. And that's really where we see, the feminist movement having an effect on popular culture, because there was a real attempt to court female audiences with these stronger, more complex, more interesting female characters.
Modern female superheroes, whether they're on television or in the comics, are more conflicted than Wonder Woman ever was. They have something to repent for in their past. they are mutated, and they see their mutation as a disability, even though it also gives them superpowers. Wonder Woman doesn't have that complexity. She doesn't have to face ambiguities in her own being and her own beliefs.
I've got a feeling that your luck is definitely taking a turn for the better.
She represents that you can be anything you choose to be, and that happiness is a choice as well.
Anyone who realizes that she has the power within her to make changes, not just for herself, but for women, can be Wonder Woman. You have to take what she does and extend it into the terms of your real world. If you want to fly through the glass ceiling, if you want to bring about an end to domestic violence, if you want to bring pay equity for working women, she's there to be that kind of icon.
I think she's relevant today. I think that she inspired a lot of people.
Certainly, I think when stories become part of our consciousness, they help us make different decisions.
Her feminism is pretty hard to ignore. She urges women, to go out there, make your own living, feel what it's like to be independent.
The fact that Wonder Woman is a superhero, and then she also has a secret identity, shows that she is juggling two lives. And women today, more than ever, juggle two lives. Wonder Woman has been doing that longer than women in society have, so I think she's proven to be a great role model for all working women.
I think that Wonder Woman did know that she was missing out, on the family thing. But she was young, she had a lot of time. I tried to do that with the character too, is whenever there were young people around her, that she was fascinated by them and loved being around them. So that there was some yearning in her about having her own children one day. And I wish that for Wonder Woman. I hope that this DVD, this series of DVDs, will introduce a new generation to how much fun Wonder Woman was, how cool she was.
Wonder Woman has the history and the sort of sense of recognition that we really can renew her for every generation, and it's exciting for all readers. But I think for girls, it's critically important now for girls to have role models. Role models such as the one that Wonder Woman and the young Princess Diana represents.
She is the embodiment of everything we can be, that we can do whatever we set our minds to, that we only limit ourselves by the limits of our dreams. I read Wonder Woman when I was a kid, and never would have believed that I would have a chance to play her. I mean, how cool is that? How cool is that? To be able to have played this particular character.